何を持ってたの？何を支えにしたの？
君がいたんだ。
This is really good, really good. Anyways, so yeah, April is basically over. And if you can't tell by the title or by the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about Shigatsu Kimi no Uso, also known as Your Lie in April. Now, why am I bringing this up so late into the month, pretty much towards the end? Well, it's because it kind of makes sense, because if you watch Your Lie in April, then you know at the end of that series, it's a spring without you. And man, I just get flashbacks from watching that. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't actually watch the show till about 4 years ago, back in 2020, during the pandemic. Damn, it's been that long. But for some of y'all, this was probably your first anime like ever, because if I'm gonna be honest, this anime came out in what, 2014. I think I was like 13 or like 14 at the time. Kind of crazy, to be honest, how it's been about 10 years since this anime first debuted, and it's become an instant classic essentially among like music anime, amongst like romance anime, amongst sad anime. To me, this is an anime that is a must watch. It's an absolute watch for like any anime fan. Like, whenever you talk to people, whenever at least I talk to people, most of them recommend Your Lie in April, or they say, yeah, this was one of my first animes ever. And for good reason, because at the time that this anime came out, anime was still kind of niche. It wasn't really too popular as it is today, because you gotta think about it. In the 2010s were a different era. Like, anime was slowly getting there. I don't think it was till like 2017, 2016 that anime really started to blow up slowly but surely. And Your Lie in April to me is one of those animes that is always gonna have like a special place, especially in the time of April, because it's so significant, because it goes along with its themes about lying in April essentially. But enough yapping, let me get to the point of the video. What is Your Lie in April all about? Well, without spoiling too much, it's pretty tragic, I'm not gonna lie. If you're big into music anime, then this is probably for you. However, it doesn't really focus too much on the music aspect of that compared to anime such as Con, or compared to another anime such as Bocchi the Rock, where it solely focuses more on the music and some of the characters. This kind of uses music as more as a aesthetic. It just uses it to further develop the story between these two characters. So essentially, the characters Kaori and Arima. I'm not even going to bother pronouncing the other cast because I'm pretty bad at Japanese names. I sometimes butcher it. But essentially, these two characters are the main focus of the series, with Kaori being the blonde girl, the very talented violinist that Arima eventually comes across, and who further like rekindles his love for music, for being a pianist. Now, the thing with Arima, with Kose, is the fact that his background as a pianist is filled with tragedy, mostly because his mother would abuse him, would beat him up, would like make him play piano till he was perfect, till he was like the best of the best pianists. But until one day his love for that just vanished after his mother passed away, which, spoilers, but you guys have had like 10 years to watch this anime. If you haven't done so, then I'd recommend skip this video because it won't really make much sense. But nonetheless, Kaori is this very young, talented violinist who like is pretty well known throughout the city. She plays a violin. I can relate to Kaori because at one point in my life, I was actually a violinist from like middle school all the way to high school. When I finished high school, I just never really touched my violin again. So to me, this show, when I first watched it, I kind of resounded. I kind of understood Kaori, and I did understand Kose's viewpoint about like trying to rekindle your love for your music, because if you're a musician, then you know sometimes giving it up and then trying to get back into it is kind of difficult, because it's not always as easy as people make it out to be. Now, I've tried to get back into violin, but I just don't have the time nor the interest to do so. Now, I'm getting off topic. Now, seeing these two characters interact is pretty entertaining, because one rekindles their love for music while the other one is rekindling their love to just being alive. And if you're not familiar, Kaori, she has this illness, and she doesn't really have a lot of time left to live. So she essentially gets really close to Arima, with Arima Kose, or Kose Arima. and further develop like his interest within him to make him feel that you're a pianist, you should really love your passion as a pianist, because not too many people are this talented as you. But in Kosa's case, he's kind of afraid to get back into the music. He's very much traumatized by his mother, that the fact that his mother would beat him up, would abuse him to be the perfect pianist, and just do everything in her power to make him be the best. Now the thing about Kosa is the fact that he kind of misunderstood. His mother very much did love him, but it just the way that she would show his love and appreciation for him wasn't in the best way, and it wasn't portrayed in the best of circumstances. Now what I love about these two characters is the fact from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, they try to understand one another. There's actually a big, whatchamacallit, how do I pronounce? There's actually a big misunderstanding between these two characters, in the fact that Kosa thinks Kaori loves Watari, and Watari is Kosa's best friend. So he has this like misinterpretation that she's trying to only get close with him just to be with his best friend. But there is a really big twist. I don't want to reveal or spoil, because if you haven't seen this show, then it's really gonna hit you. But the point of the show is like trying to rekindle your love. It's never too late to understand your love for one another, to understand your love for a certain passion. Now Your Lie in April expresses this pretty well, and with these characters, Kaori, yeah, she doesn't really have a lot of time left to live, but despite that, she enjoys her life. She enjoys trying to get close to the person she admires, to the person she likes the most, which is Kaori, which is Kosa. Kosa just doesn't. You gotta think about it like this. Both of these characters are what, like 12, 14, they're still in middle school. They still don't really understand each other's feelings a whole lot. So they think, yeah, Kaori is dying, but what can I do about it? So you go on this long adventure trying to get to know one another. You eventually play in shows to understand each other's feelings, and towards the end of the episode, or towards the end of the finale, when Kaori cannot make it to Kosa's performance, he has a vision that she's there with him in spirit, that they play this and this one final time as a duo. And this is probably the best part of this series, when Kosa is playing with Kaori. Yes, one last time he envisions her like being on his side. Everything that they've gone through together, he admires her. He truly admits that he's in love with her, but the fact that she passes away is really tragic. It's only towards the end of the series that you find out the really big twist, and that everything that they did together was a lie, but a lie for a good reason. And that's why it's called Your Lie in April, because I don't want to spoil too much about the ending, because it's really big and you won't really understand most of it unless you actually watch it. But I really do enjoy this series for what it is, and it's a pretty good series if you haven't seen it. But it's kind of crazy, some people haven't seen this series despite it being like 10 years old. It is a pretty good one, which I really recommend. The visuals, the music, it still kind of holds up 10 years later. I know some anime don't really hold up that long, but this is probably one of those shows that's become like an instant cult classic. I very much enjoy it. Other people have actually had issues with the show, mostly because it's pretty slow paced at the beginning. It doesn't really pick up until like 7 to 8 episodes, and that you really start to get engaged with the series. I'm gonna be honest, this is one of those shows that like kind of almost threw me off, that I felt really bored of, but I'm kind of glad I stuck with it through the end, through and through. It is a good series. Nonetheless, that's just my takes on Your Lie in April, why it's a pretty good show, why it's ultimately a tragedy, because it's two characters trying to understand one another, and they don't even get to make it, they don't even get to be together at the end when it really matters for these two characters. They are apart and they go through their own journey. It is a tale of tragedy and like hope, which honestly I enjoy. And with that being said, I guess we're gonna have to wait another spring to watch this series. So have you seen the show? What do you think about Your Lie in April?